Hello, music makers, and welcome back. Thank you for joining me here on the Be Radical Make Music podcast. I am feeling a lot of feels. Well, firstly, the Spotify Wrapped, that yearly algorithm push that Spotify puts out so that everyone shares the screenshots of who they've been listening to. That's all starting to come out now. And every single year since I started this podcast, it blows my mind that this is in some people's top 5. It's some people's number 1, number 2, number 3. I'm sitting here in my wee room, essentially just talking to myself, but I'm not, am I? I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. And if you've ever, if you've ever needed proof that magic exists, I honestly think you should start a podcast, release your songs, start a YouTube channel. Just start putting things into the world from a place of truth and just because you want to, and you will be so shocked. The magic that will come your way is just a universally, cosmically wondrous thing. So if you're listening to this and you're one of those people who have been sharing and listening and supporting me, thank you so much. It is, again, it's like a magical cord between us, and wow. So it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. So I really appreciate those of you who always message me, always email, always share bits and bobs, throughout the years. Thank you. I'm feeling very, very reflective today because I've just this minute wrapped up my graduation party for my Radical Songwriting Academy cohort that started in October, and that's just finished. And I'm feeling all the feels, not just because we've wrapped up and we've done the graduation, and I really suck at change and the end of things. I just get so nostalgic. But it's the last ever live cohort of Radical Songwriting Academy. The Academy, as you will know if you're a listener to this podcast, has changed, and my whole business structure is changing, and the decision to essentially remove the main thing that I've been doing for 2 years has been really scary, but it feels so good. It feels so right. And this last group of songwriters that just came through were astounding. The music that has been made in the last 8 weeks from those beautiful human beings is gorgeous. And I'm just so proud of all of us. I'm so proud of them for showing up and doing that work. We know this isn't easy. I'm really proud of myself. I'm really proud of myself. And I want to sort of dedicate this episode to be in honor of wherever you're at, of those musicians out there who maybe are feeling a bit rough and tumbled by 2023, who are feeling tired, who are feeling burnt out, who are feeling a bit rubbish, who aren't feeling particularly connected to their music or their art right now as they're listening to this. I really want to honor you right now, because those are tough times. And I don't know how you feel, but for me, I sometimes feel like I have more of those times than I don't. And walking this path and choosing this lifestyle, it's a lifestyle for so many of us. It really is a lifestyle. If you make your music a priority, your life's going to look pretty different to a lot of people's lives. The convention goes out the window the minute you start dedicating your time, your space, your energy, and your money to your art. Your day-to-day just looks different. The thoughts that you have, the way you see the world, the obsessions that you end up having. And that's a beautiful thing. However, without a community around you, if you're not connected to lots of other people who are doing that, it can be lonely. It can be exhausting to push against the tsunami of contrary opinion and contrary conventional thinking. And so I really want to honor you right now and hold some space for you and appreciate you and give you some courage and motivation and just support. It is the end of November, and I have had an absolute, like, I can't even, I can't, I find it hard to describe every time I say it, but challenging year. And sitting here though at the end of November, feeling how I'm feeling, which is awesome, which is I feel really alive and really awake. And I don't think I've ever had this experience at the end of the year before. I started this year in a very, very precarious position. I can absolutely honestly say I'm ending this year in the opposite way. And so I've got the time and the space and the capacity and the bandwidth to hold space for you, to hold space for other musicians. And for me, that's a huge part of my life. It's a huge part of my life to use what I've got to assist and facilitate other people's creativity, because I see how difficult it is, and I have had others help me the whole time. The whole time. I've not done any of this alone. I've always had a really beautiful, tight knit, close community of fellow musicians, of friends, of mentors, coaches, peers, and I've never found myself feeling like I'm totally alone in this. And so to give that back is a pure, it just feels right to me. It just feels good. It just feels right. It gets me up in the morning. And in doing so, my creativity has had its own journey, which I never knew it would, to be honest, because when I started Be Radical Make Music, I had no real plans. I don't think I've ever really had a plan for any of this, and included my own music too. And I think now I've realised that, I mean, we can plan all we want, but if you're not honouring where you are at right now, if you're not honouring the emotions and the energy experience that you're having, and I mean really, truly, honestly, radically, ruthlessly honouring that, it doesn't matter how much you plan. It doesn't matter how many timelines you make. It doesn't matter how many, sonic plans for your album production that you come up with. It doesn't matter, because if you are not on board, if you're not on board with doing this and sort of taking on the challenges of it, but that might not be for reasons to be ashamed of. There's no shaming in this. Making art, it takes a lot of energy and time and effort and introspection. It takes so much looking in the mirror, right? And that's hard. That's the hard stuff. And for some of us, we need assistance. Everyone is on a journey. So what I'm trying to say with this very short episode at the end of a wonderful day is, please honour yourself exactly where you are. Don't look over there to the right or over to the left. Eyes ahead, please, my dear friend, my dear music maker, eyes straight ahead. And if you need to close those eyes, please do it. So the start of this year was the most financially successful experience, most financially successful venture or beginning. I made more money at the start of 2023, in the first month of 2023, honestly, than I had made in a whole year of being a full-time professional musician. And I just cannot believe that I'm saying that, and what's about to come out my mouth next is I was the most miserable, the most unhealthy, the most ill, the most lonely, the most insecure, and just the most lost I think I've ever been in my entire existence. And I've went through the death of a parent. I've lived in multiple countries and still live abroad. I've I've literally sat alone in my car and toured my own music single-handedly across the European continent. You know, I've done things that I look back on and I think, how the fuck did I do that? I look back and I think, who is she? Who is she? It's me. And yet there I find myself turning 35, living with people who did not give a shit about my well-being, trapped and but sitting with this money in my bank account. And I was so unhinged and unbalanced and really, really, really far away from who I am and really far away from honouring myself. All of my internal checks and balances, you know, my meditation practice, my exercise, my healthy eating, my even just like socializing, it all just went out the window in favour of making money. And I get sucked in. I get deeply sucked into the narratives that we all get sucked into at times. But I added onto that my own experience with money, my own relationship with money, my own relationship with success. And I am sitting here now with that experience, and I am so happy that I had it. I am so happy that I had that experience. I feel like my year is like a soggy piece of wood with a big bow in the middle, you know, and it's just all splintered and weak in the middle. And I'm at one side now, you know, and that plank of wood is to be renewed. I don't know, this analogy maybe isn't quite working strong enough, but that's how I kind of see the year. Like, you know, the bulk of the year was, it had a weakness to it, and I felt so unhealthy. So I just did not honour where I was. It took me months and months and months to actually stand up and say, I think I'm really, 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 really ill and really burnt out. And I think that if I continue this way, I might actually genuinely, I might not have a business. I might not have a career. I might not have a voice. I might not have my health. I might not have this life. I might, you know, have to drastically seek help, medical help. And what a gift in many ways. And I'm lucky that I have health insurance and I have people who will listen to me talk about this. I've talked about it a lot in this podcast, and I'm really hitting home on this because I feel like over this year I've sort of became a little bit of a advocate for burnout, and particularly for creatives and musicians, music makers who are burning out. We need to listen to our bodies. We need to listen to yourself. I just listened to another podcast episode. It's a podcast called Feel Better, Live More. It's fantastic. Love it. Highly recommend it. And it was an episode where the host was talking to a monk, and he was talking about burnout and how actually becoming a monk was part of his recovery from burnout. Like, this is a real thing. It's a real medical, life-changing, hugely life-altering experience. And if you have experienced it or are experiencing it or are going through something that is really pulling at your energy and your health levels, like, we must honor ourselves in those moments. And that was really hard for me to do. And I just pushed through and pushed through and pushed through, because making that money and being successful and growing this business and that was more important. That's bullshit. Nothing is more important in my life than me and my health and my lived experience and my sense of peace and joy and connection. And I can't sit on this podcast and offer my top tips for this and my ideas for that without talking about this stuff too. So I'm ending the year so much stronger than I started it. And if for any of you as well, like, I want this to maybe be a wee bit of motivation that it is possible to pull this stuff back, but we've got to be radically honest about it. That if you are experiencing something just now that's just such a difficult space, that things might need to change. And if that means getting better, then that's okay. So that could look like creating a music career that doesn't look like everybody else's, that's slower than everybody else's, quote unquote, everybody else's, because we don't really know what's happening behind the closed doors, do we? We don't know. It might look like writing a song every 2 months. It might look like never finishing a song. It might not even look like writing music. It might look like something totally different for you. But I urge you and encourage you to explore what those different avenues could look like. If it means that you get yourself back, if it means that you can focus on staying here with us. Being here, being alive, being aware, being awake, being happy, being healthy. Happiness isn't always the aim, but having some form of peace and contentment, and the torture that we can put ourselves through, right? The torture we can put ourselves through. So it just might look really different, and that's okay. It might look really slow. It might look a bit boring. And I'm inside another membership. I say another because I'm going to launch mine very, very soon. So just a little thing there for you. But I'm in a membership, and it's it's all different kinds of creatives. And someone was talking recently about how do any of you cope with not being where you once were, creatively speaking? And I resonated so hard because I think back to that touring on my own, releasing so much music. I released so much music in my 20s and hardly any in my 30s. But my life now, right now as I sit here, it's not quite as exciting as it was back then. I'm not doing as many things musically and creatively. It's really not that wild looking. In fact, I would say my creativity has really matured, and it feels very safe. Doesn't feel like a space I need to go to when my heart is broken, which it was broken constantly by my own means, I should add. I was going to the piano and I was there. I was angry and I was resentful and I was raging and I was pissed off and I was pointing the finger. And you can go back and listen to my songs. Be Bold is me just pointing the finger like, you're a dick, you're a dick, you're a dick, you done this wrong, you done this wrong. Okay, we go through that. We need to go through that. That's fine. But my creativity doesn't look like that anymore. It's very reflective. It's very inward. It's about love. It's about peace. It's about exploration. It's about me trying to transcend my own little monkey brain and me trying to connect with something that feels really mothering, I think. And so actually, sometimes it's a bit boring. I'll just come out and say it. Sometimes my creativity right now, it's a bit boring. And I love it. And I'm not going to change and chase and demand of it or from it. Instead, I get to sink into it. I get to hold hands with it. I get to date it. It's like a marriage. It's like a beautiful, loving marriage where we're still totally committed to each other. But, we're a good 15 years in. It's not like it was at the start. We don't have any of those growing pains anymore. And so it's slow. It's a lot slower for me than it was. And even at that, I still, and I mentioned it here in this podcast, that I have started writing my next album. And I had all these big plans. I'm going to write the whole album. I'm going to record it all at one go. I'm going to lock myself away in intensity. And since even that podcast episode, which was only maybe a month ago, if that, I've changed my mind. I'm going to do a bunch of singles instead, and I'm just going to take it one single at a time. And that feels better and that feels good now. So again, this episode is in honor of all of you music makers and musicians who are listening that maybe just aren't where you wanted to be or thought you would be, or your music making doesn't feel as exciting, or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's overwhelming. Maybe it's too much. Please just honor where you're at. And that can mean changing your mind, like what I've done. That can mean going back to the drawing board. I mean, I have seen this in myself and so many other people, that we make a plan and then we stick to the plan no matter what. And even though we get information that is screaming at us to change the plan, please, we don't do it. Why? Because I said I was going to do it this way, and now I'm holding myself accountable, just like last episode. If you haven't listened to it, please go and have a look. Instead, we're practicing that gentle accountability. Yes, I'm still going to do the thing. I'm still going to release my music, but I'm just going to do it in a way that feels more loving and gentle, in a way that feels much less abusive. And when I look back to January and the way I conducted my inner world, my outer world, I really, if someone else was to treat me the way I was treating myself and I was to tell a friend about it, they would be trying to do some kind of intervention to get that person out of my life, because it was toxic and it was abusive, self-abusive. And I'm so happy that I can sit here and say that and I don't feel like that anymore. But it has quite literally taken almost an entire year to even get close to this. And it's also involved me losing some friends, losing some friendships, being very, very lonely. And I hope that as you're listening to this, you don't think that, I'm trying to say I've got all the answers or I've got any answers. I have no answers to anything. I know nothing except my own perception of my own experience. Oh, I'm really trying to put dimensions on the I know nothing, right? But that's it. And that's really all we've got. We try and look for facts. We try and feel like we've got control. But when you zoom out, and I mean really zoom out, you zoom out and you see from the point of view of another galaxy zoom out, what do we know for fact? And so then surely the only truth that we have access to is the one that we feel inside. It's the one that we experience. It's the one that is psychologically and emotionally and spiritually interacting with us, And it's like Eckhart Tolle when he says, the day he sort of really understood the ego was the day that he was sitting on a bench and he just thought, I'm just so tired of myself. I'm so tired of being depressed. I'm so tired of feeling like this. I'm just so tired of me. And then he realized, well, what part of me is tired of what other part of me? Like, what is the I? Who am I speaking about? What voice is that? And so ultimately, when we're talking about honoring ourselves, we're talking about that voice, the all-knowing voice inside you, the truth inside you, the mother, the nurturer, the father, the creator, the universe, the cosmos, like that part of you, the part of you that when you're writing your songs that just goes on a journey and has no sense of time and has no sense of identity and has no real concept of others or you or me. It's just, you're just making music, you're just in the zone, you're just in the flow state. Like that part of you, that part needs honored and needs to be honored, and do that for all parts of you. So, okay, I'm getting a wee bit abstract. I do realise I do go off on one. So, my dear music makers, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for listening this year. It's beautiful. It brings me to tears. It honestly, really genuinely brings me to tears when I think about that. And what a beautiful experience that we get to have together. So I'm going to wrap up this episode by inviting you to my next event, which is on the 9th and 10th of December. It's called Create and Connect, and it's a 2-day online music retreat. Inside Create and Connect, we are going to be making music, setting the tone for gently ending 2023 by carving out some time to really look at our artistry, our musicianship, our songs, our productions, whatever it is, whatever music that you're making, whatever, space you're taking up, we are going to collectively hold space for that. That is on day 1. You will have a prompt from me and a workshop in the morning. You're going to go away and write your music and make your music and work on your music. And then you're going to come back and I will facilitate some beautiful community experiences. On the second day, it's all about connection. And inside that, we'll be collaborating and another workshop. And these workshops are all very much aimed at the seasons. So the season that we're in right now, for those of us on this hemisphere, the hemisphere that I'm in Spain, Northern Hemisphere, for those of us here, it is indeed winter. And so a lot of us are feeling the drawing of the nights. The nights are fair drawn in, as we would say in Glasgow, Scotland. And I think that when we look at honouring ourselves, we have to honour the environment that is around us too, which means acknowledging it and the impact that it has upon us. So the second day, the first day and the second day, the workshops that we have, they're all around that theme. There's some really wonderful bonuses in there. I've got a music session planner for you to get a bit more organised, to be able to track your sessions. If you've ever felt a bit scattered and lost when it comes to actually sitting down, right, like where did I leave off last time, then that's going to really help you. I've also got journal prompts for musicians, which are bespoke, absolutely tailored for music makers. I think that we can go into really wonderful spaces. And then lastly, I have a bonus workshop that's on demand. If you join Create and Connect, and the workshop is called Manifest Your Music in 2024, where we will be breaking down your desire, your wants. You're allowed to have desire. You're allowed to want things. We're going to really turn the tables on that being a dirty word, on that being a shameful thing. You're allowed to want a beautiful, flourishing, abundant music career. And so we're going to be looking at breaking down that vision, putting it down on the page, really understanding what action we're going to need to take, and then making a wee plan for that. So that's Manifest Your Music in 2024. And that is a free on-demand workshop. It's a bonus that you get when you join Create and Connect, and you get the download for that. Okay, so I really do hope you can join me on the 9th and 10th. It's been a year. It's been a year. I still have a bunch more podcast episodes to come out. I think maybe another 2. That's not really a bunch, is it? I've got 2 more to come out before I say goodbye to this part of the year and go on my Christmas holidays, which I can't wait. So, my dear music maker, I'm sending you loads and loads of love. Thank you so much for connecting with me, tuning in. But more than that, thank you for using this space as a way to connect with your creativity. Like, that's what I'm here for. It's literally the whole point that set up this entire business. And your success becomes my success becomes yours, and we get to be pals and really enjoy this. So thanks for listening. I really hope to see you at Create and Connect. If you've got any questions, get me on Instagram. At Be Radical Make Music on Instagram, or you can email me hello@beradicalmakemusic.com. And in the meantime, have a wonderful rest of your day, wherever you are in the world listening to this. I'm sending you tons and tons of love. We're all going through this journey. It is indeed a journey. So I'm going to go get a cup of tea, get myself settled in for the night, and sending you cozy vibes from me to you. Loads of love. Take care. Cheerio.